It is December the 1st, 2019. Do not even think of shorting Bitcoin until you've watched this full video. I'll explain it through our technical analysis, but I'll give you the brief in the first 2 minutes. That's what's coming up on today's episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin. So here's the skinny. Yesterday, I was pretty correct in identifying this trend channel, the top formation, and that prices would be moving back. But I was expecting that they'd move back much more deeply and much more sharply. And now that they haven't, and they've paused here, we need to reconsider this chart, because while it did break this trend channel here, now we have a new trend channel to consider. And the reason it's so important is because of these technical levels right here. And so shorting from these levels would be difficult because now we're at the bottom of the parallel channel, where if we build a 1, 2, 3 formation and we crack up above these levels, we're in a buy signal. Let's go through and see how this pans out with the rest of the indicators. Don't you hate the altcoins when you see a great pattern shaping up and it breaks out and everything is looking fantastic? You move your stop loss up on this wonderful trade and you get stopped out. Maybe you bought into this trade after it broke out and prices came back and you took a loss and you closed this trade. And then a few days later you look back and you see this is the market that took off and doubled in price and you missed out on it. How do you know when you should be in a market and when you should be out of the market? You don't have to do all this work yourself. We do take care of this work for you. You can join our bull market watch, and you are in the know as to when to get into each coin, which one is coming up to be alert, where you should be putting your money, which ones you should be holding, and which ones you should be avoiding and watching. There's no need to struggle through looking through hundreds of charts when you can just come and check out this report and get right down to the details. All the work is done for you. Let's start off with the weekly view of RSI. It's Sunday now. It's coming to the end of this candle. So if it can close itself up above these levels, that would be really good. I also want to notice that we have lower lows here and lower lows here on this time frame. And then when we go into the daily time frame, it really changes. The RSI has quite a different setup here compared to the price. And this is a hidden bullish divergence, and I want to pay attention to it. Moving into the 12-hour time frame. Now I'm observing what is going on with these trend lines as we're setting up here. So if the RSI starts to break back below these levels, that's very bearish. But if it's holding up above these levels right now at this midline and showing strength at these technical levels, really got to pay attention to it. As we zoom into the 4-hour time frame, this was more clear to me yesterday as we were setting up and watching for this to break. That made more sense. But now that it's held itself at the midline here, it's a new story, and we have to really zoom in now to see what this 1, 2, 3 is doing. Let's go on now and take a look at the volume pattern to see what's going on with this. We can still see there's a lot of dumping volume on the weekly view. On the daily view, we can see just in the last half of this last couple days, we've got it changed over to buying volume. And it is dumping and less dumping here on the second low. There is a divergence setting up here from the volume to the price action. If we zoom into the 12-hour time frame, I'm just now paying attention to what's going on with the volume over here. We can see that the volume is less dumping as we come from this hit down to this hit. It had less dumping volume go into it. Let's go into the 4-hour time frame now, just to see that we did have buying, and it's pulled back a little bit. It has to turn back into buying as we're watching. This has to turn back to buying. It can't stay and climb with a negative on balance volume. So we'll just continue watching a little bit here, but a good salt of selling going on here after this top formation yesterday. Now let's pay attention and watch how this turns out here, but I'm still not convinced with this selling pattern going on. I was expecting to see a turnaround to more buying volume going on, like we saw here. So without that buying volume, then my expectation of this being a bounce moment kind of gets washed away. Let's go see what the other indicators are telling us. So our weekly view of the MACD indicator remains bearish, and in fact these histograms down here are stretching out longer this week. So we can see that the second histogram here is a little bit longer than the week before. which for me is more bearish. The longer these histograms are, the more bearish it is. Let's go into the daily and see how this is turning out. It has still crossed to the positive. We have histograms over on the positive side. Let's continue to watch. On the 12-hour, it's still crossed positive, not having the same momentum though. You can see the histograms are pulling back a little bit. Let's see how this goes in the 4-hour. It had crossed negative at the top of this. We were pointing this out yesterday as a potential exit, but I was expecting a deeper rip down. Let's see if it touches up here and what goes on. Now, it is kind of bullish to have these 3 higher crosses as we're coming through this turnaround here. Let's continue to watch how this unfolds and see what the Ichimoku cloud is telling us next. So next, let's move into the Ichimoku cloud. This trend line may look awkward, but when you put the chart into logarithmic view, you can see why I'm paying so much attention to this trend line right now, this price level. The weekly view of Ichimoku cloud really isn't helpful to me, but when we get into the daily time frame, it's more clear that this is still bearish. The blue is decidedly below the red. We're way below the cloud. It looks like we have a long ways to go down yet. Let's zoom in. Blue line is crossed above the red. That is pretty important. And this is one of the reasons I say do not even consider shorting from this point, because we have this cross to the positive here on the 12-hour. On the 12-hour time frame. We've already been positive on the 4-hour time frame for a bit, so Ichimoku cloud has kicked my ass in the past. I have to bow to Ichimoku cloud crossing at these times. And as we go into the 1-hour time frame, this is a bit more wobbly now. It's pulling back. We'll see what happens with this, but it did cross to a sell signal as we saw yesterday on this cross, and it's pulled back. But with the 4-hour holding positive and the 12-hour crossing positive, I think this is going to be following soon. We'll see, because the 15-minute time frame is already crossed positive with the blue. So it does seem like we have come down to an important consolidation point here. We're getting many indicators backing us up here. Going to the 5-minute just for the fun of it. So it has crossed. The blue needs to cross back up above the red here, and it will if these prices are breaking higher. Let's move on now to the weekly view of the Bollinger Bands. Just a quick review back here to the fact that when we're below the midline on the Bollinger Bands, it's bearish. If we're holding our way above it, then we're bullish. Right now we're bearish and we're down against the mean reversion area of the weekly, right against the band. Let's zoom into the daily. We also bounced off the mean reversion area of the daily, and it has bounced negatively off of this median line for the daily chart here. This is what we were pointing out yesterday as a bearish continuation, a bearish move, and that it was coming off of the 12-hour band as well, was another mean reversion that we were watching for. However, now that prices have come down to the bottom of this parallel channel, right on the top of the midline of the 12-hour. So the 4-hour has given us a mean reversion buy signal off the bottom of the band. So we had the sell signal, now we have the buy signal. This is why I love learning about the Bollinger Band. It's a completely different way from the way I've been trading. And really appreciated yesterday as we were doing the video that we came right down to this neck, acknowledging that it was going to be a strong, sharp, fast move, and then it didn't really get the follow through and the volume to make it strong and sharp. What should we be watching for on the 4-hour time frame? It'll be coming up to the midline. So if it crosses over the midline on the daily, as we are moving through these levels, that's going to be huge. And we'll see it coming because the 12-hour is going to come back up against these levels. The 4-hour is going to move back up across those levels. So I can start to see some patterns here now. I guess one of the most troubling things that remains for me is the startling number of increases in longs. Either the market is manipulated and the big guys are loading up now knowing that they are just going to buy the crap out of everything and drive it to the moon and they're going to really rake it in now, or the crowds are getting in and super excited because of the social media, because of the news, and they are all about to get hammered. Because if prices really do break below this level, we're going to get more of that strong sharp that I was expecting yesterday off of this top level. I was expecting it to break that trend line and to be significantly lower by now I thought it would be the 6,200, maybe even hitting the 5,800. I thought it was going to be strong and sharp. So it pulled back a little bit, and the longs haven't been affected. In fact, I think they increased since yesterday. What are we at? 33.56. Have to pay attention to that number now. And now let's finish off today's episode by looking at what's going on with the altcoins. This is where the action is. As we're pointing out the other day in our Discord chat, we can see these bottom formations setting up in all of the altcoins as Bitcoin is topping out and pulling back right now. Let's see what that means for Bitcoin dominance. Also pulling back even the slightest bit. You know, as soon as it starts breaking below this trend line, then we are having altcoin season. And we can see the specifics in altcoin season rather than just looking at Bitcoin dominance and knowing that alts are going up relative to Bitcoin overall. We want to know specifically which altcoins. And that's what our bull market watch spreadsheet does. It allows you to see specifically which are the coins on Binance that are in alert status right now according to our trading plan that you can download for free from the website. You can learn how to identify which are the coins that are in hold status. And with our spreadsheet, you get instant access to know exactly which are the coins to be avoided and which are the ones to be watching for the next hot moves. If you haven't already, I recommend that you go to the website Introtocryptos.ca, put in your email address and get the free webinar that teaches you our complete trading system. You'll get a lot more value out of this YouTube video series with this training in your pocket. You can grab the free training. You can sign up for the Bull Market Watch spreadsheet so you can see exactly which coins should be in your portfolio using our simple color-coded method. And if you're a pro altcoin trader, you'll appreciate our altcoin service. If you missed out on Matic, if you missed out on RLC, if you missed out on VET and you wanted to have notification of when to get in and when to get out sent to you, this is for you. I want to close with a quick report on the 5 different altcoin portfolios that we put together. We started off with a benchmark of all the coins on Binance last week, and right now the whole market is up 4.8%. And then we're checking the performance of these different portfolios, these different select portfolios, and the one that is standing out right now is our triple, which means that these coins passed the bull market watch test. They also passed the Ichimoku cloud test on the one-day view, and they also passed the Bollinger Band test on the weekly view. We selected down to just that group of coins on Binance last week, and they are really outperforming the average right now. I'll update you here from time to time on how these portfolios are doing. If you'd like to have access to that, it is part of our Pro Alerts subscription. And so in review, the reason I say that you shouldn't even think of shorting Bitcoin from here is because of this parallel channel, and the prices have stopped here and made a bottom formation. Our indicators are giving us a positive divergence. And don't you just hate it when you look at all of the charts, you get everything ready, you put your position on, and then the market moves exactly against you? There are specific reasons. There are things that the technical indicators are telling us. It's a matter of getting prepared in ahead of time and getting these strategies prepared in advance so that you know what to do when a situation comes up like this. And you're not scanning videos on YouTube trying to get the answer to the question. You need to know all of these ahead of time in the game of trading. Every step you go, it gives you a bank of 5 or 6 different options from that moment. Another step forward, you've got maybe a bank of 5 or 6 different options to choose from. And you must know every sequence along the trade which of those options should be the best one to choose at that moment. And the only way to know that is to practice the whole sequence all the way through from stage 1 to stage 5 of the trade. And if you're not familiar with all 5 stages of the trade, I request that you go over to Introtocryptos.ca and get our free training. What's going to happen if you miss this? You're going to continue to spend hours watching videos on YouTube trying to figure out what are those stages of the trade, when you can just go and get the training for free. And you know that many people fail when they first start trading, and it's because they don't take action and take the training that takes technical analysis and makes it into a practical step-by-step plan from the beginning to the end of the trade. It's not enough to know all of the keys in the piano. We can all look at a piano when we see all the keys, but to know how to play them in the correct order, that's what makes music. You can't keep hitting the same keys over and over again. It doesn't make music. It's the same with trading. There is a sequence, there is a music to it as you go through the trade. And finally, let's close with a look at what Bitcoin prices are doing now after the video is done and I've completed the editing. It's not looking nearly as bullish as it was when I was shooting the video earlier here this morning. And I invite you to come and join us over on our Discord chat. We continue on this conversation, watching all of these indicators and more over on our Discord chat. That wraps it up for today's episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin.